my experience with the room. And I've been going back and forth. What is there for me to talk about? It's a lot, but I'm gonna keep it simple. And I do want to take that. I do want to take another moment of silence for the addict who's still suffering in and outside of these rooms, because we suffering here too. Fathers using with sons, mothers using with daughters, and the baby who has no say-so in the matter. And also for the addict who will die tonight. No doubt about it. There's going to be somebody that ain't going to make it to see 2019 due to the horrors of this disease. May we take that moment now, followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference just for today. All right. Again, my name is Devetta, and I'm an addict. And I'm so grateful to be here, as I said. And I want to always talk about what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. Sharing my experience, strength, and hope. I am from Chicago, born and raised. Chi-Io, right? Home of the champion Bulls. That's where I'm from, right? The west side, the south side, the east side, the north side of Chicago. My disease of addiction took me everywhere, right? I'm not a suburban girl, I'm a city girl. So I did whatever it took to get one more, right? So my disease took me everywhere. It didn't just limit me to the block. I moved around for a minute. And I've been coming around these rooms for a long time. I just celebrated my 50th birthday, December 19th. 50 years old. And there were times when I thought I wasn't going to make it to see 30, 25. But I was allowed to see 50 December 19th of this year. So I'm from the oldest of two. My mother, rest her soul, I lost my mom last year on Thanksgiving. When you talk about reservations or what would it take for you to stay in these rooms, because I remember a lot of people lost their mothers in the rooms and they didn't get high. Right? There was no reason for me to get high. And I'm going to be jumping back and forth a little bit because I can't just talk about, I don't like spending too much time on using, getting high, because we all know how to do that, else we wouldn't have a seat here. And then in the end, it wasn't fun no more. It was necessary. Right? And my disease of addiction took me to a point where I sold everything. And when I say everything, I sold everything, including my soul. There was always a everything must go sale. Right? Somebody can relate. Always selling something. Right? So I'm grateful that I'm able, and I did some work on me, and there's some things that I want to be mindful of because my grandkids in here. But my grandkids, I've been cleaner longer than my grandkids been born. My oldest is 10. My clean date is March 3rd, 2007. So I've been around here. I got clean before I started having grandkids because I wasn't a very good mother. Right? The disease of addiction wouldn't allow me to be a great mother. I have 4 girls, 32, 30, 28, and 26. I have 4 grandkids. 3 of them are over there. 1 of them is in Chicago. So I'm going to be going all around for a minute. So talking about how I got here, I've been around Narcotics Anonymous for years, but I also was in the other fellowship, which is Alcoholics Anonymous, and I can say that because it's in the basic text. I can say, and I'm grateful for Alcoholics Anonymous because it opened the door for me. It opened the door for me to see that there was a new way of life, but it just wasn't enough for me because I was addicted to a lot of things. I was that addict who thought if I stayed clean just for a little while, I could still smoke weed. I'll just change the brand of beer I drink. No more Old English, I'll drink Budweisers. Right? But I always went back to what brought me to my knees. And for identification purposes, that was crack cocaine. Caused me a lot. Caused me to lose my children. Caused me to lose myself, my dignity, my pride, my respect. Everything that my grandmother taught me was gone. You talk about degradation, dereliction, and all of that. It was me. So I never want to forget the pain. And I thank God that I am in a position to look at myself in the mirror today because I couldn't do it. It was always looking on it. Never could look any but on it. And if you know what I mean by looking on it, it was only one thing I was doing when I was looking on it. Right? So I'm grateful today that I can look across the mirror, look in the mirror and love, begin to love. I said begin to love what I see. And sometimes I have my moments and my thinking will tell me, Devetta, who the hell you think you are? You still a crackhead hoe that you was on 63rd Street on Chicago and Inglewood areas where I'm from. Right? But I'm so grateful today that this program has taught me that there's a new way of life. And you guys were my hope when I came here because I didn't see no hope for me. I thought that I was going to die in the horrors of my addiction. I remember when my mama came to the trap house and got me. I done been to every treatment center in Chicago. And one thing that I learned about treatment centers is that you could come very institutionalized. You can know what to say. Keep going to them long enough. You'll know what to say. You'll become a elite team leader. You'll do all the things that is required of you. And when you get out, guess what? Right? We want to worry about who's doing what at home, why you ain't sending me no quarters and no cigarettes. And we forget that we weren't there for our kids and our family. So treatment centers for me was a hustle. Right? Because I've been to them all in the shop. So I had to, my last addiction, and let me get to my last drug use, let me get to that so I can move on to the recovery process, is when I got high with my daughter. I didn't stop using right after that, but I got high with my daughter. My oldest daughter is 32 years old. Two of her daughters are over there right now, and my baby is still out there. See, I didn't got enough freedom and did to work on myself that I could talk about anything and use about nothing. And when you get to that point that you could come in here and share. Now check this out. I'm not telling you to come in here and share everything on the floor. I mean, personally, if that's your choice. But me, when I do the work on self, I don't worry about what y'all think about me. That's not my job. My job is to come in here and dump and talk about my story. This is my story. Not even thinking that one day I would be doing that with my baby. I got out with her one time and one time too many. And probably a few months after that, I came up in these rooms. The last day I used was March the 3rd, March the 2nd, 2007. I used, and I remember my mom and my dad stepdad coming to get me from the trap house on the north side of Chicago. I didn't go to treatment centers because I had went through them all already. Sometimes it come a point in your life where, damn it, just get it together. Because there wasn't treatment centers back in the days. There was institutions, mental institutions that we was going to before the predecessor Jimmy K did this, Bill and Bob was doing. Right? So there was no treatment center. They was just getting clean. They was just doing it. Right? So look, Devetta, you've been in these treatment centers back and forth. There's nothing else that we could do for you. That's what my higher power was telling me. It's time for you to get it together. So I went to a place that I had graduated from in Muskegon, Michigan, a spiritual place. I ain't gonna name what it was. Some of y'all might know. I graduated from there in 91, went back there for 2 months this last time, and I haven't looked back yet. I got out, moved to Grand Rapids. I left Chicago, and let me tell you something about a geographical change. Sometimes you can run to something and not from something. Sometimes you need to go somewhere and just get away. Because if I had stayed in Chicago, I would have died. Flat out. I already know that. I was tired of telling my daughters that I was going to get my life together. I was tired of telling my mother and them I'm done. I was tired of me. So I went. What did I have to lose? I went, right? I went in that spiritual place, and I stayed there for 2 months, and I got out and I moved to Grand Rapids. And the first meeting, my second day in Grand Rapids, I went to No Name. 100 Buckley. That was my first meeting. And I have not found a desire to use again. Right? So I knew it was time for me to get myself together. And I want to read a little bit in the literature because, I read my literature. As the Spirit moves, I'll read something in here. And it says, some of the highs felt great. But eventually the things that we had to do to continue using reflected desperation. I remember a time when it was fun. And I shared that a little while ago about how it was necessary for me to get high. It says we were caught in the grip of our disease. We were forced to survive any way that we could. We wasn't living no more. I wasn't living. I was surviving. Program of Narcotics Anonymous has given me a life. Right? It says we manipulated people and tried to control everything around us. We lied, stole, cheated, and sold ourselves. And let's make this perfectly clear. It don't say just the women sold themselves. So when you come in here and you start working them steps and get some freedom, right? It said we sold ourselves. It didn't say women sold themselves. We sold ourselves, right? Because if you was an addict like me, you'd do anything for one more. It said we had to have drugs regardless of the cost. Failure and fear began to invade our lives. One aspect of our addiction was our inability to deal with life on life terms. We tried drugs and combination of drugs to cope with a seemingly hostile world. It just seemed that way. It was seemingly hostile because I just felt that the world was against me. And that was more excuses and reasons for me to get high because the world just didn't understand. But check this out. The world didn't have to. The world didn't have to understand. Right? We dreamed of finding a magic formula that would solve our ultimate problem. Ourselves. So I thank God for bringing me in here with for the drugs. But when I started doing some work, Janine, it wasn't the drugs. I was dealing with character defects and all of those things growing up before I even came into these rooms. The drugs just helped me medicate it a little bit better. It helped me forget about some things. It helped me. It gave me courage, false courage. That's all it did. That little girl that was still suffering, that couldn't say and couldn't talk and couldn't be who she wanted to be because my mother was addicted too. So I didn't have a say-so in anything. And when I smoked my first joint and drunk my first brass monkey, I was cool. Peppermint snap, whatever it was, right? And I'm going to say this. The Beastie Boys was one of my favorite rap groups back in the days, and it was that song. Brass Monkey. That funky monkey. I mean, it was just so encouraging to just drink Brass Monkey and listen to the Beastie Boys, right? And I had no idea what I was in for. It says, we dreamed of finding ourselves. The fact was that we could not use any mind-altering mood changing substance, including marijuana and alcohol. I don't know how many times I tried that. I don't know how many times I tried to be a civil get higher, however you want to call it. I don't know how many times I tried that. I tried that several times. And I remember going to this meeting, and this man said, this old cat, he was a predecessor. He had about 40-some years. He said that a pickle cannot go back to being a cucumber. I was like, what the fuck does that mean? But anyway, I figured it out. That I cannot use successfully anymore. And I'm like, I finally got it, what he was talking about. It says, drugs cease to make us feel good. At times we were defensive about our addiction and justified our right to use. Everybody is against me. I need something, make me feel good. Every excuse that I came up with, to justify my drug use. And check this out. My situation was not as bad as yours. I could keep getting high. Because I'm not as bad as you. There's a lot of younger people in here, in this room, that I'm really feeling like you need to hear a lot of this, who's an addict, and how it affected me. And maybe, just maybe, if I could touch one person through my message, that's okay with me. Because you don't have to die. I lost a lot of people out there, whether it was from ODing or prostitution and they were murdered, but they not here no more. So you don't have to use. Every night I pray for my daughter. I have insurance on my kids today, my grandkids and me. See, that's another part of recovery. When you come in here, you start being responsible. So I still kept my sponsor in Chicago. I still have my sponsor in Chicago, and I am gonna be in the convention next weekend in Chicago doing a workshop. So I'll be there, and if you have not experienced the convention, please do. There's nothing like being around a whole bunch of addicts and meeting people from different places, and I had the privilege to go to World. Went to World and celebrate. I saved my money and went to World. I saved that money for 2 years. And my thinking was telling me, damn, you can smoke your ass off with all this money. Because check it out, I still be having those thoughts, right? And I be calling my girl, girl, let me tell you what. And they be like, Devetta, look, because we still go through that regardless of how much clean time we got. So I'm just jumping around a little bit with where I'm at in my life. A lot has changed. I'm settled in Grand Rapids, Michigan. My recovery is there. My network is there. Even in Chicago, from Detroit, to Cleveland, everywhere. I know a lot of people everywhere that I can call. And they there for me. When my mother died, I talked about this at Merckner. I closed the Sunday convention at Merckner, and I talked about losing my mom and going to Chicago. I was going to pick her up. We were having a potluck at my cousin's house, and she had a heart attack and died. And I went to the house, and she had the food prepared she was bringing. And I was like, God, why have you put me in a position like this? And he told, I have equipped you for this. You have the network of people. You had the support. And I had to go back to my cousin's house and tell my grandmother, who has lost a daughter already, that her second daughter was gone. I'm fresh into losing my mother. Keep in mind, she the one who came and got me out the dope. She the one I used with. She the one who got clean and raised my kids. And she's also the one that saw her daughter get her life together. And it's still fresh. And sometimes people don't understand. Grief has no expiration date. Don't let nobody tell you that. Don't let nobody tell you you should be over that. Never let nobody tell you. Grieve. Feel what you got to feel so you can heal. Because if you don't, you'll get high. So I'm standing here crying, but trust and believe they're not tears of sadness. I'm crying because, man, I'm happy. I got a place to come and cry about my mom. My mom is proud of me, right? So I'm going to tell y'all this because I don't know how much time I got to wrap this up. When I called CPS on my daughter, was the hardest thing I had to do, Janine, in the program, because guess what? I thought if I call on her, she wouldn't love me no more. It's guilt. Guilt kick in, guilt. Remember, you didn't raise them. What you gonna call CPS on her for? All of that. I made that phone call to save my granddaughter. You know, you have people against you saying you shouldn't have did that. And at the same time, I'm finna share this. I got in trouble for stealing on my job. Clean. So see, let's talk about stuff that happens when you get clean. When you revert back to some of your behavior. Right? Recovery and relapse is said just that. Recovery and relapse. It didn't say relapse and recovery. Read your literature. But it just so happened that I got a grip on it and started doing some more work before I actually picked up the dope again. Because check this out. When you done did some stuff like that, call CPS on your daughter. Got arrested, got in trouble for stealing on your job. Normal thing to do is get high, right? I ain't get high. I walked that shit out. People in the fellowship was whispering and talking and, she ain't working no program, blah, blah, blah. But I also had people calling me saying, Devetta, thank you so much for sharing. I've been stealing on my job too. I don't give a damn if it's stamps, garbage bags, pens. You're stealing, right? So I took one for the team. I was looking at 10 years. My supervisor came to the job, to court. She say, I don't want her to go to prison because she ain't going to recover like that. See, my higher power was still in the midst of what I done. Devetta, just don't pick up. I had a bad marriage in here. Right? That, going through that. Now check this out. CPS, the job, and the marriage. And I still didn't get out. I walked that shit out. Was it hard? Yes. I remember calling a member in Grand Rapids. I said, I want to get high. She said, you don't want to get high. You just don't want to feel. And I walked that out. That was 6 years ago, and I'm still standing. So check this out. I couldn't get her. I don't know how much time I got, but I couldn't get her. Couldn't get my granddaughter. They say you can't get her because of your background. Now keep in mind, a sister like me got a background. Chicago, I'm been arrested, right? Been arrested here, been arrested in Grand Rapids. Make a long story short, I fought for my granddaughter for 2 years. Didn't miss a visit, right? I adopted her 2 years ago. She's my daughter. Then my daughter turned around and had another baby. I said, I'm not getting no babies. She FaceTimed her to me from the hospital. Her adoption was final 3 months ago. She's my baby too now. My grandson, he's at home with me now in the process of being adopted. Listen, you get clean for yourself, but you stay clean for others. Believe me, I didn't want to be no full-time grandmother. I did not sign up for this, right? But check this out, I'm raising my grandkids. Sometimes I can't go to socials. That's okay. I can't go every place. Man, is it easy? Hell to the no. It is not easy. Look at that baby. She 10. She look like she 13. I'm going through some stuff. Right? But I get through it clean. So, check it out. 5 years later, I ain't worked. I had to do factory work. You do what you got to do to pay them bills because I couldn't get back in the field I was in. Yeah. But check this out. I just got hired to go back in the field that I was fired from. I started January the 9th. To share with y'all some hope up in here. Don't get high. When my mother passed, the police that was at my mother's house, he was white, tall guy, he was white. You know, it's a lot of stuff going on with police. He was white. It was a lot of stuff going on with police. He was white. Right? And he was there in euphoria when I was coming to see about my mama. And he said to me, we tried everything we could. And I just got to beating that man in his chest like this. Because you tell my mama. Now, white police officer in Chicago. That man was so loving to me and caring. He gave me his card. He said, if you need anything, you know people give you the card. If you need anything. I didn't need anything, but I called that man a day before my mother's funeral. I called that police officer. Man. And I told him, I want to thank you for the way you told me that my mom had made her transition. I want to thank you for your support. The way that you cared about me and my brother when my mom died. He said, me and my wife been praying for y'all. I'm so glad to hear from you, to hear your voice. Do you realize all of that, Janine, that racism was out of there? You understand what I'm saying? Because that police officer was there for me. I didn't give a damn what color he was. But he helped me, he consoled me, he comforted me when I lost my mother. I thank that police officer, Janine. I'll never forget that police officer. Because I ain't had nobody. My auntie, my uncle's wife, she was in shock, like she was somewhere else. But that police officer was there. Man, this program will change your mind. It will change your life. All you got to do is I go through stuff. I holler, these kids get on my nerve. My friend, he get on my hey, honey. But you know what? I love my life. I wouldn't trade my grandkids for nothing in the world. When them kids call me grandmama, I'm no longer called a bitch, a hoe, a crackhead. TT. You know all them street names they call you. I'm a grandma. I go up to the school. I braid hair. Showers. They got a refrigerator for the food. They can eat what they want. Little shit. And they had a meeting for New Year's Eve with their grandmother. I don't have a lot of time to tell y'all how good this program has been to me. You know, you need to hear I had to share some ups and downs with you. That you can get through whatever. Just don't pick up. Whatever you do, don't pick up. Don't pick up no drugs. Because you got a chance. Had I had picked up the drugs, I wouldn't have my grandkids. I wouldn't be going back into the field I like. I wouldn't be able to go pick out my mother's clothes and stuff in her casket and stuff for her funeral. I did that, me and my brother. I called members when my mother died who lost their mother. We got through it. Life on life terms. Crisis can be a gift. Believe that. If you going through hell in here, keep going. And I say that because in the end, you'll get through it. Just keep going through hell. Because it's not as bad as you think it is. Happy New Year, 2019. My name is Devetta. I'm going to keep coming back. Thanks for letting me share.